iNovia has got a pretty broad investment mandate. What does it look like?
We're primarily an early stage fund. We manage about $500 million right now across 3 vehicles. In terms of what it looks like is a collection of individuals really that are really interested in supporting a next generation of entrepreneurs building iconic companies both here in Canada and some in the United States.
And when you think about those founders, the best and brightest of them, what do you think are the strengths that you can highlight about them?
I think the ones that I always look for, it's a combination of intellectual horsepower and hustle. And for a long time, I thought, maybe intellectual horsepower was enough to get by on, and just, the hustle was enough to get by on. But what I've found over time, it's really the mixture of the two that really define a founder that's able to take, what is a small idea at one point and build it into a big company.
And when you think about your current portfolio, the star founder, star entrepreneur within the portfolio, what are the traits that are causing them to really pull ahead of the pack?
It's interesting. I think there's not one or two defining traits across, all of those founders that I could point to. Different founders have different strengths and different weaknesses. But the one thing I've really focused on over the last couple of years is this idea of instinct. And instinct, it sounds like a very fluffy term, but, the way we look at it, it's the ability to make decisions with limited amounts of data. And to, be able to stand up and say, no, I have data supporting this and against it, but what my gut tells me is I've got to go this way.
Yeah, and here's my fact set, here's my input set, it's not complete,
absolutely,
but here's the judgment call.
And there's just certain times in a company's life where you're going to have those judgment calls and you have to be right. And looking at it as investors, sometimes we think of it, that was just purely a gut call. But the difference is we're only looking at those companies a couple hours a week. Someone who's in that company 24/7, 365, it's not really just based on gut. It's all those little tiny pieces of data that he or she has collected over that time that's all kind of coalescing and being brought to bear on that one decision point.
And is that a common trait where you see a pattern of iterating on past lessons learned?
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that we try to do within our portfolio is increase your exposure to lessons beyond just the ones that you might have learned in your own company. So when we bring a new company into our portfolio, one of the first things we'll do is we'll connect them with other entrepreneurs that have basically been through that same path a couple of years before and can gain from those experiences rather than necessarily having to make those same sort of mistakes on their own.
Switching gears for a second, thinking about the other side of it. So within the portfolio, the worst dog you've got, what has that founder done in terms of the approach or characteristics of the founder that's led to that failure?
I think they tend to approach things strictly by the numbers. And so they don't appreciate that every problem at the end of the day is a people problem and are quick to make haste decisions without fully understanding the impact it will have on the rest of the team and decision making going forward.
So really a weakness in terms of an ability to create a culture.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of our companies tend to be engineering centric. A lot of the founders, these are the first companies they've ever built straight out of school, and they haven't necessarily had the experience of what it means to really build a great company. And building a great company doesn't equate to just building a great product.
Right.
It's building a great culture, and it's building great messaging, and it's helping build markets.
And this isn't one of the things that's taught in engineering school. So what would you say to founders that are engineers that have great technical depth but aren't the best in terms of communication and development of a great team?
I would say listen. Listen to people who've done it before. Some of our best entrepreneurs today are engineers who put culture at the very top of their list in terms of what their priorities are in terms of running their companies. They wouldn't do that unless at the end of the day it really moved the needle for them as a company. So if you're coming in and it's your first company, take a look at people who've done it before and the emphasis they place on those softer issues, and understand at the end of the day, it drives a significant amount of value creation within your company.